Hey guys, welcome back to my channel. I'm Tara Hannon from Blooms and Benedictions, where we walk with Christ to find the roses among the thorns. And if you haven't checked out my website yet, head on over because we're coming out with some t-shirt merch and you're not going to want to miss the pre-sale. So head on over to bloomsandbenedictions.com. It's coming out with our favorite slogans like walking with Christ to find the roses among the thorns and you were born to bloom. So check out those images and hop on to that pre-sale and snag yourself one and help rep this tiny channel that's growing in the Lord. Amen. So today we're going to look at one of the most famous sister duos of the Bible that has historically been touted as a relationship that's full of competition. But I challenge you to look at Mary and Martha of the New Testament in a totally different way. I think that this section of scripture is actually much more about how our personalities can serve the Lord in an optimized fashion rather than how we can be competitive with one another as sisters in Christ. So as we're going through this study, ask yourself, how can I best use my personality, my skills, and my love languages to serve the Lord? So first, let's get some context on who these lovely ladies were. They were close friends of Jesus, and we will see that come up over and over, that Jesus is found retreating to their home in Bethany. Bethany was a city that was only 2 miles east of Jerusalem. And so you can kind of think of it as a little triangle. There was Jerusalem, and then there was Bethany, and then over here was Bethlehem. So these ladies were from a village that was kind of at the base of the Mount of Olives. And it was all taking place at the height of Jesus's ministry. So this would have been around AD 30. They were seemingly unmarried, which may have been part of the facilitation of how they were able to support Jesus's ministry and host him so often in their home, that it talks about Jesus retreating in the book of Mark to a place in Bethany. It says it over and over in the scriptures. And so a lot of scholars believe that it was to these ladies' house. And so they definitely had some degree of affluence. The home, it says in the word, belongs to Martha. And so likely she would have been the older sister. She would have been the head of the household, and the home was large enough to accommodate Jesus and all of his disciples and possibly other followers that would have been with him at that time, like his mother or Mary Magdalene, or just different people that were becoming part of his ministry. So they would provide, food and shelter and just space for him to rest and to feast and to party. So at this time, it would have been fairly dangerous to even associate with Jesus. Some of the scriptures that we're going to look at today will happen the week before Jesus is crucified. So all of the authorities are basically after him. They're on the hunt to bring him down. And so they were putting their lives at risk to be so close to him. But the scriptures say very specifically that Jesus loved Mary and Martha and their brother Lazarus. So they had this intimate friendship with him where they really walked with him through daily life. They were close friends. I also want to challenge you to think about your values and your priorities as you open up your home in hospitality. So we throw parties all the time in our home. Hospitality is a huge value for us. We have 4 little boys and we're always throwing birthday parties and backyard barbecues. And I've definitely felt convicted in this area. So we have this sign that's up in our home and it says, "Sorry about the mess, but we live here," which is kind of just like this snotty sign that I love to throw up there like, hey, if you find any mess, then that's because like we're actually living, right? We're not just like pristine little statues that just sit in this squeaky clean environment. No, duh, I have 4 boys. It's going to get messy. But secretly in my heart, I love it when people are like, so we threw this party one time and this girl came over and she'd never been to our house before. And she came out and she was like, "Tara, there's this sign in your bathroom and it says, sorry about the mess, but literally I haven't found a single mess." And I just like, ooh, my greedy little prideful heart was like, ah, yes, That's what I want, that you can't find a single thing out of place. And that's just not the goal, right? That's not the goal of hospitality, to just have not a single crumb, not a single thing out of place. And I think that's where we're going to find Martha being challenged here. Jesus is going to challenge her with some specific words. And it's not about her propensity to love through acts of service and helpfulness and hospitality, but that there were things that she was more concerned with than perhaps the people and the connection that the people can have to each other and to the Lord. Have you ever just been rushing around, scurrying, cleaning things, flinging stuff into corners, barking orders at all your kids and giving commands to your husband, and everybody's like stressed out and overwhelmed and you're grumpy, and then the doorbell rings and you're like, bing, hi, oh my gosh, welcome. And we all have to like pretend this wasn't this very stressful hour before everyone arrived. That is not the heart of hospitality. It's not about perfection. It's about connection. So ask yourself, as I am a person or a woman of hospitality, what's my heart condition in this? Do I want people to be impressed by my home and my cleanliness and my party skills? Or do I want them to connect to Jesus, their Lord, and to each other as a community? So let's briefly get a character sketch of who Mary and Martha are. Martha in the Aramaic means the lady or the mistress. It would have been the feminine form of the word master. So you get the sense of who she is in the home. Mary is a variant of the names Miriam or Maria. There's lots of Marys in the Bible, right? It's a famous name. It's an honorable name. Down through time from Miriam, mother, and then also Mary, mother of Jesus, Mary Magdalene. And it was originally Egyptian and it meant love or beloved. So very different tone here, right? And we will find through the scriptures that Martha is practical. She's generous, she's hardworking, she's driven, she's assertive, she's talkative, she's outgoing, she's hospitable, she's defined by her servant-heartedness. She's a good manager. She's full of faith as well. She's not all negative, so don't get that idea of her. Even though she's kind of a type A personality, a go, go, go achiever, I can relate. But that's not all bad. The Lord has designed her exactly as he needs her. So she tends to be more task or operations oriented. She's very efficient, and her love languages may likely have been acts of service and words of affirmation. So what Martha does in the story is good, but what Mary does is best. And we're going to take a look at that in a second. But a simple character sketch of who Mary was would be that she is focused, she is peaceful, she is obedient, she's deep, sentimental, loving, emotional, quiet, perhaps reflective. She's sacrificial, she's relationship oriented, and she will end up showing you that she has the correct priorities. So this whole story is kind of like akin to the prodigal and older son. Do you guys remember that narrative where the older son is so upset that this lavish party is being thrown for the younger son? And the father's like, you have everything too. I could throw a party just as easily for you. Like, you are equally of value to me. So that is the heart of this story. Mary and Martha are equally important to Jesus. He loves them both, and their personalities both serve him in his kingdom. But sometimes our priorities get out of whack, and our personalities can get the best of us. They can be our strength or our weakness, right? Some potential love languages for Mary might have been quality time, physical touch, and gift giving, because she is going to be the one that lavishes the expensive perfume on Jesus with her hair and just sort of anoints him with that, which is actually a very prophetic move, because this happens a week before he will be sacrificed on the cross and buried. And so that ointment is actually like a sign of preparation for burial. And so it's a very prophetic thing that she does, and it's extremely expensive and just sacrificial to weep over his feet, to cry with her tears. You see that emotional side of her, that sentimentality, and just to sort of wash his feet with her hair. Such a beautiful and touching moment. Meanwhile, you've got Martha over there just scurry, 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 serving, serving, serving. And she's doing what she's gifted to do as well. Neither is wrong in what they're doing, but in the position of their heart. So let's look quickly at Luke 10:38 through 42. And it says, "Now as they went on their way, Jesus entered a village." This is him and his disciples. "And a woman named Martha welcomed him into her house." Remember, she's the master of the home. "And she had a sister called Mary, who sat at the Lord's feet and listened to his teaching." So this would have been totally non-traditional, completely out of their culture. And it is a huge statement that acknowledges that women can be disciples of Jesus at this time, because he was a rabbi, and women typically were not allowed to be students of rabbis and to sit at their feet and to learn. But the word says specifically that she sat at his feet and listened to his teaching. Verse 40, "But Martha was distracted with much serving, and she went up to him and said, 'Lord, do you not care that my sister has left me to serve alone?'" Have you ever been annoyed that people aren't working as often or as hard as you are? And you're like, "Hey, stop reading that newspaper," because it's 1950. Nobody reads newspapers anymore. "But stop surfing your phone and get up and help me," right? Okay, just me. Sometimes I feel that way and I'm like, "Hello, I'm working a lot. Come work with me." And so she's feeling this way, and she says, "Don't you care that she's left me to do all this serving alone? Tell her then to help me." But the Lord answered her, "Martha, Martha." So it's kind of like this, like when someone speaks to an animal that's sort of like frenzied, like to a horse, someone who's like a gentler, like the horse whisperer would be like, "Martha, Martha." It's like he's gentling her and calming her down. And he's saying, "You're anxious and troubled about many things." So right there, we're getting to the gist of the story. It's not just this, it's not just the serving. She's anxious about many things. Perhaps she did too much cleaning and too much rushing, and she wanted it to be perfect. And she set, all these candles out, and she beat all the dust out of the rugs, and she made this pomegranate soup, and she wanted just everything to be just so. But maybe it was enough to just, do takeout tonight, because it was more important to sit at the Lord's feet. Have you ever needed to just scale back on your plans so that you could actually be rested and enjoy the event that you are throwing for a loved one? Perhaps that's her situation. And he says, "You're anxious and troubled about many things, but one thing is necessary. Mary has chosen the good portion, which will not be taken away from her." He's basically saying she has chosen me. She has chosen time with me. And that is more important than anything else we can do on the face of the earth. It's more important than cleaning. It's more important than eating. It's more important than serving. It's just important to sit at the Father's feet and to listen. It's a beautiful scene here, isn't it? He doesn't rebuke her for her actions. He calms her down. He's gentle with her. He's patient and compassionate, but he encourages her to go deeper. I encourage you to go deeper with Jesus. It's the whole point of this life on earth. So now let's pick up the narrative in John chapter 11. And here we're going to find that Mary and Martha's brother Lazarus is ill, and they're sending word to Jesus like, "Come quickly, we know that you can save him." But instead, he stays 2 days longer because he knows that this whole experience is going to give major glory to God. And this will also be the impetus for his resurrection road. So the Romans road towards the cross. So John chapter 11, verse 17 says, "Now when Jesus came, he found that Lazarus had already been in the tomb 4 days. Bethany was near Jerusalem," remember the triangle, "and many of the Jews had come to Martha and Mary to console them concerning their brother." So when Martha heard that Jesus was coming, what does she do? She's a doer. She hustles out to meet him. But Mary remained seated in the house. Martha said to Jesus, Lord, if you had been here, my brother would not have died. She is a woman of faith. She knows that Jesus has all power and that he can prevent even death. She says, but even now I know that whatever you ask from God, God will give you. That's powerful. That is a woman of faith. She is trusting that Jesus can still turn this situation around. So she's very proactive, isn't she? And Jesus said to her, your brother will rise again. Martha said to him, I know that he will rise again in the resurrection, like in the afterlife. I know he'll come back, but right now he's stinking in his grave because he's been dead for 4 days already. But Jesus says, I am the resurrection and the life. Whoever believes in me, though he die, yet he shall live. And everyone who lives and believes in me shall never die. Do you believe this? And there's this beautiful affirmation moment that comes with Martha, not Mary. And Mary is so honored and revered for all these lovely things that she does, right? Like anointing the Lord and sitting at his feet. But Martha is a woman of faith as well. And she's going to give 3 labels of distinction that show that she understands who Jesus is. And her response in verse 27 is, yes, Lord, I believe that you are the Christ, the Son of God, who is coming into the world. So she understands all 3 of those facets of who he is, all of those prophecies, and she completely submits her faith to his power. So this little section is also where you find the shortest verse in the Bible, where it says simply that Jesus wept. It is upon seeing that his friend has passed away. He dearly loved Lazarus, and it says that he wept. And that may be out of compassion for his friend and just the empathy that he has for Mary and Martha and all those who are in mourning. But it is also because it is dawning upon him that this is the final stretch, that after this week, that he will die for the sins of all humanity in a gruesome death. And he is preparing himself to do this ultimate miracle that will trigger a series of events that will bring him to the place of the skull, to the hill of Golgotha, where he is crucified. So the end of the narrative here in verse 41, it says, they took away the stone, and Jesus lifted up his eyes and said, Father, I thank you that you have heard me. I knew that you always hear me, but I said this on account of the people standing around, that they may believe that you sent me. When he had said these things, he cried out with a loud voice, Lazarus, come out. And the man who had died came out, his hands and feet bound with linen strips, and his face wrapped with a cloth. Jesus said to them, unbind him and let him go. Death has no power over us anymore. This is a foreshadowing of what Jesus is going to do in just 1 more week. And so many of the Jews who had come with Mary see what happens and they come to believe, right? Because the word says that miracles are for the unbeliever. And so there's this amazing miracle that happens, but it stirs up all of the Pharisees and chief priests. And so all these cronies are gathering together and they're like, ooh, what are we going to do? This man performs many signs. If we let him go on like this, everyone's going to believe in him. Because yeah, duh. Eventually, everyone's going to believe in him. The word says that every knee shall bow and every tongue will confess. And they know that. They know that. And yet they don't believe. And yet they wish harm upon him. And it says, and the Romans will come and they'll take away our place and our nation. And they just want to hang on to power. And so, sure enough, this takes the whole just sort of motion forward to send Jesus to the cross. And it says, so from that day on, they made plans to put him to death. So at the end of this narrative, we find that it is 6 days before the Passover, and Jesus has come again to Bethany, where Lazarus was, whom Jesus raised from the dead. And chapter 12 says that they gave a dinner for him there. And guess what? Martha served. But it's not a negative thing. It's a beautiful thing and a powerful thing, a thing she's anointed to do, gifted to do. She's an Enneagram 2, probably wing 3, get stuff done kind of girl. And she is in her sweet spot. But this time she's doing it with the right heart and the right posturing towards the Lord. It's to make space for him and to honor him, and not to perhaps glorify herself or, set forth this perfectionistic display. And it says Lazarus was one of those that was reclining with Jesus at the table. And here we see that Mary is going to take a pound of expensive ointment of pure nard and anoint the feet of Jesus and wipe his feet with her hair. So just a beautiful ending to this relationship that the Bible illuminates of these two sisters that are total opposites, but both are anointed to serve the Lord in their unique gifting. Now let's go over 8 life lessons from these sweet and sassy and surrendered sisters. Number 1, true hospitality is opening yourself up to people, being emotionally available, listening, conversing, and going deeper in relationship. It isn't about perfection. It's about hygge. Do you know that Norwegian word, that Swedish word? It's all about creating a space for people to truly connect in comfort and coziness, with, of course, lots of hot chocolate and, warm fuzzy socks, even if it's summer. Number 2, we cannot measure our value by what we are doing for Christ. This is a false worthiness that invites comparison and fatigue. Number 3, we can tell Jesus anything. He will always respond in love. Number 4, our spiritual growth is forged in the anonymous monotony of our daily routines. How are you responding in stress? How are you responding that hour before a party? How are you responding when your kids make a mess, or your husband is late, or dinner isn't right, or your friends are, acting crazy? How is your character being forged in all of these ordinary daily routines? Number 5, there is a holiness in work and service, but also in sitting still and being quiet. Life is the great balance of them both. Number 6, delight in the personality you were given. It is both your greatest strength and your daily opportunity for growth. So all of us A-type people, we are loved, we are whole, we are perfect, we are how the Lord wants us to be. All of those peaceful, quiet, restful, slow to speak people, you are just as the Lord has designed you. You are also perfect in his eyes. Lean into your personality, but also work on those places that have rough edges. Number 7, evaluate your own Christianity. Is Jesus absolutely central, or have you tipped into your own visibility, achievements, and connections? Number 8, make whatever sacrifices you can to aid the fulfillment of Jesus's return. Thanks for joining me for another lesson from the beauties of the Bible. I challenge you to invite some people over this week and don't clean your house. You can do it. See how it goes. Don't forget to like and subscribe and hit all the buttons and ding all the bells, and head over to my website and check out the new t-shirts. I'm Tara Hannon from Blooms and Benedictions, where we walk with Christ to find the roses among the thorns. Remember, you were born to bloom. All you need is living water. Dig into your word this week, and I will see you guys next time as we check out another beauty from the Bible. Bye, guys.